I hope you're aware that this is going to be an interactive experience. So be prepared to dive in. The learning is going to come as much from you as it is going to come from me. As melodious as my voice is, you are not going to be listening to it all the time. You are also going to be listening to each other. So I invite you during our conversation this morning to pipe up, raise your hand either physically or using the Zoom functionality, drop ideas in chat. We're going to use all of that to have conversations and discussions versus just have the Katherine McDowell TED Talk, which is also delightful, but a lot less fun. So this morning we're talking about how do we think about influencing, really? The impact on our audience is how do we make an impression on them? And to influence others, we have to both know ourselves and our assumptions. So during the course of the next 90 minutes, we're going to be exploring a lot about how do I think about myself? What frameworks do I bring to conversations? And how can I then start to think about that in terms of what I want from the other person? Ultimately, we want to deepen our understanding of ourselves and ask questions to determine what motivates others. And then we can really make a connected impact. It's not enough to just force someone to do something. If it can come from a place of really having an understanding of what's in it for them and what's in it for me, that's where we start to make the big shifts. So we're going to dive right into that, really. We are going to talk a little bit. First, I need to know who everyone in this room is. But in order to do that, it would take too much time. So you're going to get to know each other a little bit. I know you all have probably overlapped a little bit, but there may be faces, voices in this room you've never encountered before. And I'm going to invite you to get to know each other in a breakout room in just a minute. So when you step into this breakout room, you are going to introduce yourself in a professional context, who you are, what you do, and maybe a little bit of why you do it. But to make it a little bit trickier, you don't just get to introduce yourself to one of your networking colleagues. I'm going to ask you to keep in mind these three different people who you're going to introduce yourself to. So,
Three?
in pairs, you're
Oh,
going to talk to each other. The first introduction, the first time you introduce yourself, you're going to treat your partner as if they are a senior executive in your work. So either someone that you work with directly, a client you might have, someone that you interact with who's at a more senior level than you. How do you meet someone new in a work context and describe what you do, what your role is, why it's important? That's round one. I'm going to drop these in the chat as well to everyone so you'll be able to see them. The second introduction is to a meaningful adult. This is a personal connection. So I have a very good friend. She does something with compliance for pipelines. This has been my friend since college, and I don't know what she does. She's been doing it since college, and every few years I say, what is it you do again? And she has to tell me yet again what her job actually is. So I'd like you to think of a good friend, your partner, a parent, someone who may not understand exactly what it is you do. And again, what do I do? Why do I do it? And then the third round, you're going to explain what you do to a small child. If anyone here hangs out on Reddit at all, there's this idea of explain like I'm five. How do you distill and boil down what you do in the most basic idea? So you're talking to someone who's between 4.5 and 7. This is what I do. Good luck. Uh, and you have to make sure you're using language and makes it meaningful and how do you make it impressive and meaningful to someone who's 5. So again, I'm going to drop these three ideas in the chat. You are going to be whisked into breakouts by the magic of Zoom. And you're going to have about 5 minutes to have all three of these introductions. So these shouldn't be long, drawn out, the history of time. These should be your 30-second elevator pitch. This is who I am to a senior executive, a trusted adult, and a very willing to listen to you child. Anyone have any questions before you step into the beginning of this very interactive session? All right. Through the magic of Zoom, Barbara's going to send you guys into two-person breakout rooms. If you just are joining us, your partner is going to give you the lowdown, and I'll drop it in the chat one more time once you're all in breakout rooms. I think it'll still show up for you of who you're talking to.
okay, Catherine, one thing.
Yes,
You're going to be put into a group. When you get put into a group of three, just move yourself out.
perfect. I'll come and
Okay?
I'll go.
All right. Are we ready?
Let's do it.
I'm going to even take off my video. Go ahead and do what you need to do.
Yeah, you guys are going to have this conversation. You're going to introduce yourself to each other three ways. One is if the other person is a senior executive, one as if it's a meaningful adult, and one if as if they're a child. Explain like they're five. What is it you do and why is it that you do it? So introduce yourselves to each other and we'll all be back in this room in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Hi, Marla.
Lindsay, hi, how are
Good
you? Nice
morning.
to
I'm
meet
good.
you.
Nice to meet you. Apologies, I'm a
Yeah.
little late. I'm catching up.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm introducing myself and my role, I suppose, to as though you were a senior executive. Yes. Is that
Correct,
okay?
right.
Yeah. So my name is Lindsay Johnson. I'm the director of development at Cape Eleuthera Foundation, which is a small nonprofit here based in Philadelphia.
And what's it called?
Cape Eleuthera Foundation.
Okay.
Yes, we support mainly, we're the main grantor for a school on the island of Eleuthera in the Bahamas.
Oh,
My role is to focus on all the fundraising efforts with our wide range of donors all over the country and in the world, actually. We have global individuals as well. So, yes.
what an exciting role. Hi,
Yes.
Ken.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Hi, good morning.
Ken, are you part of us?
He is now.
Great.
I am
Okay,
now,
great.
yes.
Super, super.
Hi.
Hi. Um, so
Yes.
what's the best way to do this?
Do all senior executives first and then all trusted adults first and then all
Okay.
kids third.
Great, great. Okay. Terrific.
Okay, great. Well, I'm happy to go next. I'm an executive coach who works largely with leaders who are in transition. And by that, I mean not career transition, but often transitioning to a more senior level. And so, as different things are required and expected of them to be successful at that level, we focus on the nature of the change, both understanding and also helping them execute and sort of elevate themselves into that new level of leadership. So, Ken, your turn.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to jump in here. I had trouble with the link getting on. So glad to be here though. I'm Ken
Happy to have.
Schur. I'm a career coach and executive coach. So I help people improve their professional lives, whether they're out of work, looking for the next opportunity, or a leader looking to improve their effectiveness. And I do it based on what I call my trust success model, which is on the premise that trust is a foundation of great relationships, and great relationships are the key to success. And then it says I'm supposed to mention a meaningful adult friend, partner, whatever.
No, that's the
So
next intro, Ken. That was your executive intro. Now you're going to go on, and then everyone's going to introduce themselves again in a different way.
okay,
And
then I'm
Catherine, I
done.
don't know if I can extend the time.
All right, well, we'll get through as many of you guys as we can in the time that we have then. No
Okay.
worries.
It's not allowing me to. All right, go on.
Lindsay.
Well, that's me.
Great. Let's see. I would explain. Yes, I'm Lindsay Johnson. I'm the director of development at Cape Luther Foundation. We support a school in the Bahamas that's actually a study away program for high school students from all around the world. It's our main flagship program, if you will. And we also support students from pre-K all the way through PhD, and from at a research institute and other local educational initiatives on the island of Eleuthera. I would probably explain a little bit more about what we do and how we do it.
Great. Hi, I'm Marla Mosser. But I guess if I'm talking to an adult, a meaningful adult parent partner, they already know that. So I work with leaders and organizations, lots of different kinds of organizations, really across industries, manufacturing, pharma, so forth. And I work with them to get better at what it is they do, to make sure that they are both delivering what they need to deliver and that they are interacting and treating people and getting the most out of them. Um, yeah, I see everybody's coming back.
Yeah, sorry about that, Marla. I'd love to give you three just, well, I won't put you on the spot in front of everyone, but thank you, all three of you, for at least doing the first introduction. And now, as everybody comes back into the room, I'd love to have a little conversation with you about how that went. What was it like doing it three different ways? Did they all sound the same? Did you introduce yourself to a senior executive the same way you introduce yourself to a 5-year-old child? Did anyone have it be exactly the same? No, I'm shaking head shake no. That's a relief. I'm glad we're not talking to children like senior executives. But I would love to ask which one, either as a listener or as the speaker, was the most enjoyable one to do for you? Which one did you feel captured your work the best? And again, feel free to raise your hand, drop it in the chat, just come off mute and share.
Child.
The child one.
Yeah.
Charlie, tell me a little bit about why.
Well, they're a better listener than the senior executive to start with.
That's a fair point.
And it's not a descriptor that I get to use day in and day out, right? It's refreshing.
Great.
So
Anyone else?
I'd say probably the same, but to me, the exercise was each progressive step, you're just boiling down to the most simple elements of what you do. And so I'm sure there's a big lesson in there about, being simple and elegantly stating what you do that a 5-year-old child could understand it, I'm guessing.
Great. And Jackie, you had your hand up
I
too?
did, yeah. And I was going to say something similar to what Mark said, is that, when I thought about it, like, how would I explain it? Breaking it down to the simplest terms seemed like, wow, who knew?
It's fun, right? It
Yeah.
changes a little bit about how we think about what we do and how we explain it to others. We get into, I bet when you were doing your senior executive, it was just automatic. You weren't
Mhm.
thinking about what you were saying. That's how you introduce yourself in business all the time. But when I asked you to have to reconsider who's my audience, how do I adapt to it? And what do I change about really thinking, taking a moment and being specific instead of just running on that autopilot? Larry, did you have
So
something as well?
I did. So I was paired up with Barbara Howe. Barbara, I think your last one was your best. She gave an example. It's like, when you go to the supermarket and you see the checkout person, she just made it really tangible. And like you just said, who's your audience? But I think that same idea, especially people who don't understand your business, just making it real, like you see this, you experience this, that I do that kind of thing, right? So I thought that was great, Barbara.
That's a wonderful example. Thanks for sharing that, Larry. Did anybody else have anything that stood out that somebody else did or that you felt was really on point?
I,
I think I
well,
think I think it's very difficult when you're talking to a young child to boil it down and there was at the end it really didn't describe what I did very well. It was more thinking about what are a couple of points they might understand, but it
Mm,
isn't going to describe thoroughly what I do. That's too complicated. So it had to be just kind of get some highlights and just a sense of it.
great. Mark, you had something as well?
yeah, I mean, my partner, the more each iteration, they were getting more personal about their life. I am an operations expert. I'm a mom. I do this. I do this with my family and that kind of thing. So that was interesting.
That's great. Yeah. So part of the purpose of this, and Glenn, I hear you that I can't use this 5-year-old description because people aren't going to actually then know what my job is. There is complexity. But it's, again, how do you distill what really matters about what you do? And that's something we want to be thinking about as we're starting to interact with people. What is the key takeaway they need to walk away from this introduction knowing about you? What didn't you say in your introduction? Hearing Mark mention that someone brought up their mom. What are you missing? What is someone not getting access to because you're doing the very high level bulletin board version of your introduction versus, hi, I'm a whole human being. I assume you are too. It's getting trickier with AI, but normally if there's someone physically in front of us, we can still trust it to an extent. And making sure that we're bringing that human element into the situation because that's what makes you distinct. Everybody in this, there's a lot of overlapping professions in this room. People do similar things or even the same thing. And yet you all have careers, you all have roles doing this because you're bringing your perspective in. So this is the stories we tell about ourselves. And I want you to make sure that the story you're telling about yourself is the story you want to be telling. So if there was something that you found in the kid version that you could plug into that executive version, or if there's a way you could revamp your executive version to have the same warmth that you brought to a trusted adult, start to think about that. And it's not just about introductions. We do those because they're accessible. But when you're interacting with people, where are you meeting them? And that's the question that we start with is how am I showing up and who am I showing you that I am in order to give you access to more information? At the same time, we're receiving from others, right? So when we're receiving from others, we're walking in with our own perception of who they are, what they're about. Now we've had these executive summaries from everybody. We know who they are, do we? And we're getting information from them as well. So I have a little thought experiment. I'm going to drop something in the chat for everyone. And this is the question is, well, the premise is you have sent out a proposal. This is a thing you've been working on for a while. It's the next big step you see for yourself or your organization, and you're sending it to a key stakeholder. You're really excited about what you've created and are looking forward to their feedback, their positive reinforcement, their excitement of yes-anding you, all of that good stuff. And you send this really long, thoughtful email, and you get a reply the next day that just says that. So when you see those two words, I just would love everybody, if you can drop in the chat, come off mute for a second. What's your response when you see those two words? Anna, I saw you smile, so I'm going to call you out really quick if you don't mind. Okay, Jackie says they didn't like it. What else?
I was just like, oof.
Oof. Great. What else? Anybody have a positive response?
I didn't put it in the chat. It depends on who it's coming from. Like if it's coming from the guy I report to, I know what he means by that, right? So it really depends.
Great. Anyone else?
Yeah, I thought it was positive in the sense that they didn't say no. So my response to that would be to immediately say, okay, when can we discuss?
Fantastic. Yeah,
Here are
so
my
Glenn's
times
like,
I'm available.
opportunity, let's go. Anna's like, oh God, it's over. Jackie says they don't like it. Never mind. I don't have conviction in what you expressed, and I want to wrestle it to the mat with you before we. Ooh, wrestle it to the mat. Great visual, Charlie. Thank you for that. Eleanor, you had something.
I was just gonna say the door's open. Let's discuss to me means okay, let's get that call. I'm with you. Get it booked. If the sales guy in me says, hey, seize the moment, keep it warm. And
I love it.
clarify. Be ready. So now I gotta be ready to clarify because they read it. Hopefully they didn't just put a response in. And now I gotta be ready when I get on that call.
Great. So your sense is great. There's more work to do. There's possibility here.
I got the hook. I'm fishing. I hooked you.
Wonderful. So we've heard from, half a dozen people, and it's about 50-50 split of people saying, yeah, this is opportunity, this is possibility, and oh gosh, this is over. There's not a right answer, but I want you to know which one your default was. Where did you go when Let's Discuss hit your inbox? What if you had a different perspective on it? And it's just starting to build. What framing are you walking around with? And to Larry's point, it can matter who I'm talking to, right? I know some people, if they say let's discuss, it's a collaboration. And some people, if they say let's discuss, it's shutting down the business. But that matters. But also, even if we don't, we walk around with that assumption that we know what they mean, but we don't always. And so I want you to start to challenge your assumptions. If I get a let's discuss, if I get a reaction, do I want to put it in the negative framing or the positive framing for myself? What stories am I telling about others, and are they serving me? Does that make sense? Do you guys have any thoughts around? Is anyone sitting here going, yeah, but Catherine, let's discuss means no.
We don't know what it means. That
Exactly.
person could have said, let's discuss, and that could have been a negative response, but maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they
Yeah.
just had an argument with somebody and you don't know. So if it's something you worked for and fought for and you believe in it, unless you get a hard no, you keep pushing, and if you get a hard no, you wait and then you push again. If you really believe in it.
I love a bulldog in the room. Thanks, Glenn.
And
Barbara?
so, science doesn't like a vacuum, right? And we as human beings don't like a vacuum either. So when we don't know, we tend to fill it in with our own thoughts. And as you said, what I think it's a really interesting idea to think of, where did you go? What was your first instinct when you saw let's discuss? That kind of tells a little bit about how we might react. And again, I think it does depend on who says let's discuss, but it's interesting how we go to a place almost automatically.
Yeah. And I just want you to notice your reaction. And I want you to start thinking about, do I want to change it? So if you were someone who went to the negative, what if you assume that everybody's walking around with positive intent all the time? How would that change how you go about your interactions? What would that change about how you're communicating with others?
So
What if
yeah.
you're the one sending let's discuss? Do you want to send more clarity around that so the person receiving it has a better sense of what you're actually saying to them? Jackie, you had something.
I did. Yeah, part of that context for me was the fact that they didn't respond until the next day, which made me think that yeah, they probably did read it and understood it, thought about it, and then came back with that response. If they had come back immediately and said, let's discuss, I think I would have had a very different perception about what that might have meant.
That's fair, but I have two kids, and I'll tell you right now, there are days when I get an email that I'm like, oh, I need to answer that right now, and it sits till tomorrow morning.
Mm.
So, again, to Glenn's point, we don't know what's happening for the other person, right? Maybe their dog got sick and they had to go to the emergency vet and they've been up all night and they're like, oh, I love this idea, but I just don't have the bandwidth to do it right now. Let's find a time to discuss. But that's the thing is we're walking around not knowing what the other narratives are. So what narrative do I want to bring for myself to this moment?
So, Catherine, what you also added, I think, is great that this little scenario pointed out. When we're sending an email response, be cognizant that let's discuss can be interpreted so many ways. So if you can add more clarity to that, like if it is positive, say, hey, I love the idea. I'd like to discuss more. Right? I mean, it's really important that we understand how we're coming across an email.
Exactly. This is how we're impacting our audience.
Mhm.
It's to build this awareness of what does it feel like when it comes from someone else? What do I want to make sure that I'm doing out in the world? How do I want to change the impact that I'm making on others? If I want to let someone know that this needs work or if I want to let them know, hey, this isn't going to fly. Let's be upfront and not leave someone stewing in the, oh God, what is let's discuss me? Or whatever the phrase may be, right?
It also expands beyond just conversation to life itself. When I'm coaching clients who are looking for a new job and they don't hear from someone for 2 days, they think, oh, I didn't get the job. And that could be it, but it could be they're pulling a package together for you. It could be that they're interviewing somebody else and haven't gotten back to you yet, whatever it might be. But we choose how we view whatever situation we're in life.
Exactly. And
So, Catherine, Glenn just added something in the chat. I thought is a good thing to think about.
yeah, let's discuss. I'm available 2 to 4 tomorrow or all morning Thursday. You're setting up time, you're making boundaries. I'm gonna say, Glenn, I would still want an opinion of if this is a positive or a negative if I'm replying, if I'm the one receiving. Because I can still read that and go, oh God, now I know when the shoe's gonna drop. Now I know when the hammer's gonna fall. If I'm in a negative, if I'm coming at it from a negative framework, right? So, how can you bring out the opinion? Sounds great. Let's discuss. If I take sounds great and I want to interpret it negatively, okay, maybe I need to go to therapy as well. Sounds great. I'm going to take it at face value and say, great, fantastic, they're excited. It's just thinking about what messaging am I sending? And how could the other person, we can't control what other people do, we can only control what we do. So, what are you doing to make it as accessible as possible for the receiver?
I like if you said, lots to think about here. Let's discuss. That that could be, at least it's more positive, but it's also very open.
Still neutral. Yeah. And I think that that's a nice adjustment. Again, this is your own voice, your own style. As we said at the very beginning, this is bringing your perspective into the room. How do you do this? And if you think, how would I relay this information positively versus negatively, make those adjustments. If you want to make it so that the person is wondering, you're allowed to do that. But I'm asking you to make it intentional, not just habitual. And that's how we start to make those specific impacts, that targeted impact in the world.
I would add too that the word discuss implies that like it's a conversation for both individuals to contribute to. So to
Mm-hmm.
give some sort of indication, let's discuss, I have questions about X, Y, and Z, also allows the receiver to prepare to also share their thoughts.
Love that. So we're going to take this idea. I love that we're sitting here generating how we would do it. And I encourage you to take this away and keep that in mind in your communications over the next few days. Just start to notice, am I sending enough? Am I giving the other person opportunity to really latch onto this in a positive way? To do what we need to do with it or not? Am I receiving messages in a positive or negative way? So we're going to shift gears a little bit. And the heart of all of this is this idea of connection, which came up a little bit in our intro game, where when we start to reveal more of the personal, that's where we find connection lives a little bit deeper. So I'm going to ask you guys to come with me on a journey uh, about how we can start to think about connection. So right now, I'd like everybody to look around your space and find an object, an item that is meaningful. It can be something physically in the room with you. It can be something on your person. It can be a wedding ring. It can be the socks you're wearing. It could be a gift from someone that you hate. It could be a thing you hate from someone you love. Something that has some kind of emotional vibrancy for you. If you're sitting here going, Catherine, I have nothing with emotional vibrancy around me, I would ask you why. And I would encourage you to get a little deeper. Is there anything in your presence that you're like, actually, I do kind of love this shirt. That's why I wore it today. I want you to think about, when did you receive this item? Remember either when it was gifted to you or when you purchased it. Where were you? How did it feel to get it the first time? How has your relationship with it changed over time? I want you to really take this object, if you can, physically touch it, take some time with it, and just think about what's special about this to you. Why is this the item, out of all the items that are around you or on you, that you chose for this activity right now? What about it really highlighted for you the importance of this thing? Because what we're going to do is we're going to step into your paired breakouts again. They're going to change slightly this time. The first part, I want you to just describe the object. Tell me all its physical attributes. What do we call it? What does it look like? What color is it? Any defining characteristics, any details that you can share about the item. Just a very clear description so the other person could visualize this item that you're talking about. And then we're going to send everyone chat that I hope you all receive, but about 3 or 4 minutes in, I'm then going to ask you to just, instead of describing the physical object, start talking about why that object is the one that you chose. What's important about it to you? Why does it have an emotional resonance for you? What about this object is special? And I want you to share that with your partner. Sound good? All right.
Yep.
Everybody has an item, I hope. If not, make one up. And you're going to be whisked into your breakout rooms again, and we'll be back in here soon.
Okay, ready?
Oh, it's going so well. I'm so
It
glad
is.
that people have so much to share and talk about. It's really lovely.
So yes, it's going very well. Let me just get this done so I can
Yeah.
get, I'm gonna put 2.5 minutes. I'll do it this way. So yeah, you're doing a great job. Oh,
It's always that thing of when you walk into a room, like, is anyone going to talk or not? So,
this is a group that generally is pretty warm.
yeah.
And of course there's Larry. So Larry's always, you can always count on Larry.
I mean, that's a gift to have.
Jackie, did you not get into your room?
Oh, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Oh.
I was in the room by myself, so I came
Oh,
in.
Okay, I'm
well,
going to move.
Jackie,
Oh, you know why you got into read the room? Okay, hold on a minute. I'm going to move to roommate.
you're going to join too. So go
Okay.
ahead and dive in. Let them know that you got to go.
I tried to get you there. There.
She
Okay.
goes. All right.
So the that read AI meeting thing is throwing things off.
Oh, it's trying to be a pair. Oh, that's so annoying.
All right, I'll just have to. Hmm.
Hmm.
So, so things are good. So we have June coming up for the next
Yeah.
program. So we'll see how that
Yay.
goes. And
I know I
okay,
had a meeting with Nicholas yesterday. He's like, I need to change the first vignette and I need the third vignette this way. And I'm like, okay, Nicholas, I've done this program because I do it in New York and I've done it in South America a couple times too. I'm like, this is the sixth iteration, dude. Can we let
yeah.
it be a thing yet?
So this is this is my thought, but again, and it's kind of mirroring what you're saying. What I find with this program is that after we get feedback from every individual program, we make changes based on what that individual program response is. And my
What
feeling
happened
is
that
that's
time?
not that you almost have to do it two to three times so that you because we're only going by if if one person says, "Gee, I really didn't think I enjoyed the actor so much," da 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 da. Well, then we have to make a change,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like we just I don't know. It's just me. So
I feel the same way. I'm like, what's the goal? Are we making the impact that we want for 80% of the room? Then we won. You
yeah,
can't win everyone. You never will. Stop.
yeah.
Yeah, it's my husband very kindly put it so well. He said he's overfitting to the last group. And I'm like, I know. And there was like, hey, you took too long in the unpacking of the vignettes. And I'm
Okay.
like, I
Okay,
do
so what do you want
agree.
me, what, I'm broadcasting, and so I'm going to say what?
Switch to to the meaningful part. No
Okay,
more, not more description.
whoops. If I could spell right, it would do it. Okay, stop. Dismiss.
Great.
Did it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank goodness. I'm so glad. Thank you for this, because if we were doing what you were saying, I would have been having to go through
Oh, I know.
all
I
these
was
things
like,
and
this
make
is too
individual messages.
complicated.
And if there was enough time, I wasn't sure how
Yeah.
much time there was, even though you
No.
did provide a agenda, I thought, oh my God.
Yeah, that's why I said this is probably Barbara, I'm always happy to pivot. And I was like, I was lying in bed with my daughter last night trying to get her to sleep. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to do instead? And I'm like, oh, we'll do private moment. That will work really well. So
Good.
here we are. I think it's good. And I think it works I think it keeps in a way, it's more cohesive with what we're talking about. So it's
Cool.
fantastic.
Cool. So do you have any other gigs coming up?
Um, I am where am I next? I go to Boston in 2 weeks to do this is an immersive program. So I come in as like four different characters over the course of the day. The participants are on like the CEO's gone missing and they have a full agenda and there's also like a big problem happening. It's a whole thing. So Anna, welcome back. That was
You
quick,
came,
meaningful.
you
Thank
came
you.
back.
Oh, you're
Okay.
with Larry. He's the
Yeah.
fastest.
He knew exactly what we were doing. He's very
I actually
precise.
didn't. Well, I knew in advance. Catherine told
I
us,
spoiled
but
it a little bit.
it was kind of a new thing that Catherine threw in at the last minute. But that was good. I liked it, Catherine.
Great. And you said you would,
Yeah.
so I'm glad it
And that's
held true
how
for
I
you.
changed I changed what I decided to pick. And it's interesting. Anna and I picked our objects for a very similar reason.
That your spoilers. Wait till everyone's in. We're gonna
I
talk
didn't
about that
say
right now.
what. I didn't say what.
And you're all getting whisked back into the room, whether you want to or not. All right. So, how was that? What did you prefer, hearing the description of the object or the meaning of the object?
Well, it
Well,
was
my,
hard to separate. Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren.
yeah, go ahead, Ken.
I was just gonna say it was hard to separate the two, but I think the emotional part of it was most connecting.
Yeah. Lori?
I'm
I would agree
I'm
with
right
that.
there with Ken. I love the touchy feely, the behind the messaging. The item itself is almost inconsequential,
but when somebody gets excited and they kind of glow because it was meaningful and thoughtful, that to me is a major excitement.
Mm. Lindsay, you had something too?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I was in the room with Ken there, and yeah, it was nice kind of connecting on the emotional aspect of the objects, and then that led to more conversation and more connection. So it was a lovely part of it.
Great. Who here? Oh, Jackie, did you have something else?
No.
Okay, sorry. I saw slight movement, and I'm ready. Larry came back in, and Larry, could you share with the group what you and Anna found?
Well, first I'll say, Catherine, that when you gave the few of us that joined early kind of a preview of like you're going to try this, I thought I knew what I was going to talk about. But when you described the exercise and you used the term meaningful, I changed what I picked. And Anna and I was paired up with Anna, and it's interesting. And I bet others did the same thing. We both picked objects that were from family members who have passed. Mine was, something my mother left in this place I'm at right now. Anna talked about this sweater that her grandmother made for her. And what's interesting, Catherine, is, what I'm thinking about is how these objects in our space, how much it's important. It's like, through the day you're dealing with all this crap, but then you look at this object and it makes you feel good. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Anything else that anyone noticed about connecting with the other person, finding some common threads between the objects or between the reasons? Anything else that really stuck out for you about this activity? Did anyone find it unpleasant and not enjoyable? Did anybody find it like, I don't need to know about your great aunt's vase on the counter. I don't care.
No, I
That's a
found
fine answer.
I found that my attitude was different from the first exercise I had with Larry. I was very nervous talking about myself executively and even on a personal level, but not as much as with the child. With Mitchell, I didn't have that nervousness talking about something that was special. So I was trying to figure out why.
Mm. Thoughts?
What I don't know.
I think that's such a wonderful thing to bring up. Talking about ourselves for some people can feel that what do you want to know about me? Why am I special? Talking about something outside of myself, suddenly we get to connect to the object, and taking it outside of ourselves does make it easier to access our ability to be emotional about it or find it important and meaningful because it's outside of us. I do this frequently when I think about too, when I'm talking to someone else and I'm nervous to talk about myself for whatever reason, I make it about them. What do they need? Why do they need to know about me? What am I here to do with them? And then by actually, because you're taking it then out of you and putting it outside of you. And it takes some of that, oh gosh, everyone's looking at me. This is so awkward. Like, oh, no, it's not about me anymore. It's about this object. It's about this person. It's about something outside of me. And so I'm just the vehicle for the information.
Yeah.
Ken?
Yeah. And as I was going to say, like, talking to Lindsay, she's clearly a very warm person. I felt like instant connection, and certainly the object helped that. But there are people that aren't interested in that too. I mean, it does depend on your audience. There are people that, you know what, I don't care about the warm and fuzzies. Let's get to business. So
Sure.
Well, I get that, but I'm now thinking about this exercise more. So I didn't know Anna, right? So we're talking to each other, and I see this object behind her. It turns out to be the sweater that she ended up talking about. So since I don't know her, and I want to kind of break the ice, I could have said, "Hey, I see that object behind you. Tell me." And then Anna would have gone into how meaningful it is to her. So I think Ken. Yeah, they may not be interested in it, but I think it's a way to kind of break through potentially on getting them something that's important to them, to get them to start talking and feeling good about the conversation.
Yeah, oh, Lori, please.
I think some of it may also be this stigma about bragging, patting yourself on the back. I grew up, self-praise is false praise. And so to talk about yourself is has some negative connotations of being selfish, self-centered. kind of those evil things. Whereas you talk about an object or you talk about the other person, then it can be good or bad or indifferent because we don't have all those rules about, you know, how we reflect ourselves to others.
Yeah, those frameworks that you walk around with. I mean, we all have history, we all have a sense of, someone at one point told you X and you like, for whatever reason, that became your gospel truth and you've never let it go. And even though you've done other things and you're like, that's not necessarily true, it always is coloring your experience a little bit. And it's easier when we take it outside of ourselves. Um, Ken, I do agree that not everybody always wants access to all the information. Not everybody wants to go down the fuzzy path, the warm fuzzy path, as Lori put it. But everyone you talk to is a human being. And at the end of the day, human beings are social animals, and we do want to connect with others. And it's finding ways, maybe not as full throttle as this is my, great aunt's vase, but in little ways, am I offering small glimmers of who I am as a person? Am I giving you access? And I'm looking around the room, and most people have something personal behind them, which, to Larry's point, does spark conversations. I was working with a client at a coaching firm, at a consulting firm, and they were saying how a big client was on a call with, from the lowliest little analyst to a senior level partner. And the client noticed that one of the lowly analysts had a cricket bat on their wall. And he said, "Oh, do you like cricket?" And this lowly analyst was like, "Well, yeah, I mean, this is from a game that I got to see." And they had this whole conversation about cricket. And the client, who they weren't sure was going to go with this consulting firm, ended up working with the consulting firm with the caveat that that analyst had to be on his project because of a cricket bat on the wall. And so these personal items that you bring in for others to witness, the clothes that you wear, the choices that you make influence how others perceive us. When we see what we see in others, how does that change what I think or see about them? If I want to connect with someone, I can say, "Oh, hey, Mark, what's up with those trophies? Are those yours?" Right? Suddenly I'm like, what's your secret life that I don't know about? It creates interest, it creates that connection piece. And in order to really make an impact on people, we have to think about it from that space of connection. Because I can't influence someone if I don't have a tie into them in some way, shape, or form. Lori?
So when my sister and I, many years ago, we used to go like to a food court and we would watch the people and we would make up stories about them and who they were, what they were doing while they were buying. And then we talk about, well, what made you go that way? Well, it was the bags that they had from a particular store, or one was talking more than the other one. We both ended up in HR, so maybe that has something to do with it, why we made that choice or whatever. But it was fun to kind of think about, oh, you thought that? Well, I saw something else. We even went to a college discussion for one of her kids, and afterwards, my sister and I were comparing notes. We remembered the same exact words and came out with totally different opinions as to what it meant. I was like, oh, people don't transfer within the college because they love where they are. And she heard, well, they can't get into the other schools, so they stay put. And so it is interesting, the biases, the cues that you pick up that other people may pick up different cues, or what you send. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it's just, again, it's thinking about if I come into an interaction with someone and I'm like, "Oh, this interaction's so hard. This person's so hard. They make me crazy. I don't like," why? What are some of the biases? What are the assumptions you're bringing in that are making this interaction so difficult? If nobody has anything burning, I'm actually going to take us a little bit on exploration around that.
Wait,
Great.
I did see Eleanor had her hand up.
Oh,
I was just going to say it's, reading the audience, right? It's reading the relationship. So if you're having this communication and the person's got 2 minutes, let's not get into what we want to get into, right? We'll do it at another time if we have
yeah.
need. But if you think somebody says, "Hey, I'm so glad I'm on my lunch break, blah, blah, blah," then go, you got to be able to have that intuition and be able to read the person, just like you read a room.
Yeah. It's is this an appropriate time to have this? And
I mean,
I bring this up a lot. Like if you're in a giant meeting of 30 people and the introductions are supposed to be your name and your title, that's all you give. If you're in a smaller group of 3 to 5 people
mhm.
and everyone's kind of doing the like the executive intro, I invite you, I encourage you to throw in a little bit of the explain like I'm five. Give one little piece of human in it because there is a space to do that. Even if everyone else is giving kind of the long, boring intro, make yourself distinct. What's your perspective? What's your opinion? Where's the human living? Are you giving someone the opportunity to connect with you?
Mhm.
And I will say one more piece around the objects that you surround yourself with. They do influence how we are feeling in a space. So if you didn't have something that you saw around you that brought you a little bit of like lightness and joy, I would recommend finding something in your life that can live with your workspace to give yourself that lift when you're like slogging through the worst pile of emails or whatever it may be. Um, we get to influence and control our surroundings. It also will change how you go into interactions. If you're coming to an interaction from an already positive space, it changes what you do. So engineer your life. But when we have those difficult conversations, when we have those difficult people, I would invite you all, we're gonna step into that dark place for a minute because we all have them, those challenges that we interact with. And I want you to start by thinking about a real person, someone you communicate with regularly or communicated with recently, who you sometimes find difficult or confusing. Someone who, you know, you just don't quite get this guy and you don't know why they're this way. Uh, I'm going to invite you to write down, either type it on your computer. If you have a pen and paper, jot it down. You can send it in the chat privately to me if you don't have anywhere else that you feel comfortable writing it right now. I want you to answer these three questions about that person. What does that person care most about at work? So what's their why at work? What puts them under pressure? When are they at their worst? And what do they need from you that they don't ask for? So, someone you work with who's a challenge for you, what do they care most about at work? What puts them under pressure? And what do they need from you that they don't say, that they don't ask for?
And Catherine, clarify, this is a work relationship?
This is a work relationship. Yeah. I mean, if you have a personal one that's more vibrant, you're welcome to use that, but I'm trying to bring it back into the business setting.
That's why I just want to clarify for everyone.
Of course. So yeah, someone that you work with frequently, that you communicate with frequently, someone that you work with rarely, but man, they stick out for you. Thinking about, try to make it a specific person. If you're like, oh, this type of person always is this way, I'd encourage you to use one primary example. Looks like most everybody has one. So we are going to step into breakout rooms for our third and final time. You're almost through these. You'll be pairs again, and you're going to talk to your partner about your answers to these
Oh,
questions.
God.
And then I also want you to think about what you couldn't answer. And we asked these questions, what was very clear for you, and what were you like, I mean, I came up with something, but I don't really know. So in your breakout rooms, you're going to talk about the answers to your three questions and what you don't know about this person, what you couldn't answer.
Hold on just one second.
Holding.
I can see that I need to move somebody. Okay. Two, got it. Okay. All right.
Technology.
Yeah, well, somebody left and it changed all the things.
Changed
Okay, got it.
everything.
Yeah, it changed, not everything, but one thing.
Enough.
Okay, got it. Ready?
Fantastic. Off you go. How was that conversation?
I will begin and primarily because I've really enjoyed this hour and I'm really disappointed that I actually have to leave and I'm pulling Lindsay with me. Her and I both have a standing meeting.
Just
but
have it
I-
here. It's fine. We'll put you in a breakout room. You can
Yeah.
have it duck back in.
Exactly. But I want to say thank you. And Eleanor and I had a great conversation. It was actually really hard to jump straight into a topic point when I think wanted to get to know each other and learn a little bit about each other too. But we both had a similar approach to those folks that we identify as challenging. And it felt very good, I think, to also have others who are maybe experiencing similar work relationships have the same kind of tactic that you're using. And, we found some common ground in that.
Exactly.
Well, thanks, Taylor and Lindsay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. It was
Off
nice
to
meeting
your meeting
everybody.
together.
Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Great to meet you guys.
Bye.
Um, so I heard that we're already solving for these people, which is great. What else came up in these conversations? Did you guys find common themes? What was it like to think about this person a little bit more completely versus just a pain point for you?
I think in Lori and I were talking and we had similar type people and what we kind of came around to is it's not so much about them as it is about us and how we respond to them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
I
always the wicked truth of it, isn't it? Larry.
Well, I opposite from you, Ken. We found it's them as the issue.
Larry's like, it's always them. I'm
It's
perfect.
always them. It's always them. It's not me. I'm perfect. No, it's actually similar conversation I had with my wife this morning. You know, she worked in an operating room, and the best surgeons were those who were really smart and really good at their job and loved their job. The ones that were bad were insecure. They weren't as smart. They were over their head. So that was the common theme. What Barbara and I was paired up with Barbara again. Not you, Barbara. Taylor. It was, we realized it's the insecurity of this person makes these conversations difficult. So that was the kind of common theme we found.
Yeah.
Barbara, Glenn, you're both off mute. Do you have something to add or?
I talked with Anna, and Anna has an employee that's remote that's struggling a bit, and they've shifted roles. And you're shifting a role, and now actions, behavior, functions are different, and you have to switch what you're doing, and that appears to be a difficulty. So sometimes it's just a coping issue because it's hard to change roles.
Yeah. Knowing where someone is, knowing what's going on with them as much as we can help tell us something about their behavior, right?
Yeah, and I would add that while our scenarios or examples were fairly different, that maybe like expectations were kind of maybe at the core of, where there were some challenges arising.
Yeah. When we're walking around thinking, why aren't you this way? Could you be like this? It does really change how we perceive that person and what they're doing, right? That expectation of what's going on? This is so obvious to me. Why is this hard for you? As the mother of two toddlers, this is my entire life right now. Lori, you had something to add?
Yes, a great thing. I was with Ken, and Ken and I know each other very well. It was really nice to be able to talk and kind of giggle because he knows we've had lots of conversations about what frustrates me sometimes. And he's such a gentleman, and it's lovely to be able to have somebody to bounce it off. Charlie's here too. Charlie's been my go-to person recently for, hey, Charlie, do you know somebody? And what do you think about this? But having people who are involved in the situation, and so you can ask their support, how are they reading it? And you can giggle and say, I'm a pain in the ass when it comes to blah blah blah. This sets me off, and they're like, hey, balance it. So I think a great thing to do to kind of self-check is talk to people that you respect and know the situation, and kind of play it out and see how you're reading it, right or wrong or slightly different. Ken and I were agreeing there's not a single answer, so everybody can be right, and how do you find that spot?
Yeah. While you guys were in the breakout room, Barbara and I were talking a little bit about this. And one of the things that came up is we're all walking around with what I refer to as main character syndrome. We are all the heroes of our own stories, right? And everyone else we talk to is simply, once they leave our interaction, they disappear, they go away. They're not in the screen anymore. So it's just, I'm still the main character. But when you can start to shift that perception of everybody's a main character, everybody's walking around and they are the center of their universe. And they have a whole extended thing that happens before this interaction, after this interaction, and beyond. What changes when we start to, again, bring that human element into the conversation? Can I connect with them, even though they make me crazy for XYZ reasons, even though they're not stepping up the ways that I would expect? Can I step back enough to say, and they're a human being? And what can I do for them, or what can I do for myself to make this something that I can manage?
So, Catherine, maybe um, not only going in with, these questions in your mind, maybe it's important to actually ask this person, right? Like, how are you feeling, right? How are you
Yeah.
feeling? What are you on? How can I help you, right? So, yeah, that's important for us to think about.
If I'm walking around making an assumption about someone and I have not asked them about it, that's a problem. As much as possible, we should be asking people questions. And the, hey, how are you doing today is not a question. That is a polite exchange, right? Hey, I've noticed that you seem X. Is everything okay? Hey, I know you have this going on. How's that going for you? These little things, again, you have to get that connection piece. You have to know something about this person in order to do this most effectively. But that's how we start to figure out what do we need from them or not. Barbara, you had something to say?
Yeah, I find that something that when I coach people and they're having to learn a new skill. And what I say is the time you need to use it the most is the time you least want to, right? And so that's kind of the signal, like I need to stop talking so much. I really need to listen more. Well, when you find that you're talking a lot, that's kind of your signal, like, ooh, okay, I don't want to really stop talking, but maybe I need to, right?
Yeah, I love that. In every interaction, it's really valuable to kind of check in at the end. What was the who talked more? What was the exchange? Was that appropriate for that interaction or not? Did I want to be the one? Did I have a lot of information to give? Like I'm supposed to talk the most in this interaction. I know that. It's okay that we believe this call and I will have spoken for, 75% of the time. But if I'm trying to find out something about you, that's a broken, I've done it wrong, right? Eleanor, you had something?
I just want to say Taylor and I talked about it. Pausing is okay. It's okay to have that pause. It doesn't have to be the immediate reaction because that pause could give you time to reflect, maybe read the person a little better. You might go down a better road, I'll say, if you just pause and not just react.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think people are not comfortable pausing. Going back to what Barbara said earlier about not liking, dead space, we fill it. And so because we're so busy about when am I going to respond, how I feel, we don't listen, we don't pause, we react, we don't think. And then like, why did I say that? Or, it came out wrong, or surprised that somebody took it in a way that we didn't mean because the tone or the reaction or something. And you meant to go back to let's discuss being positive, but it came out negative. Like, how could you think that it was negative? If it was negative, I would have just said no, But because we don't stop and think, we react.
Yeah. And silence is a tool in that too. Something else, Eleanor?
I was just going to say in a review I had once, I had 11 plants. I was one of 52 plant managers, union, non-union. And my VP that was giving me the senior VP is giving me a review. And he says, your differentiator is what Laurie just said. I was definitely not the most technical engineer as the plant manager, but I listened. And he said, don't ever, ever lose that trait. Keep listening.
Wow, what a gift. I love that.
It's important.
Yeah, there's a couple great acronyms for that. My favorite is probably WAIT. Why am I talking? It's really helpful to just every once in a while go, wait, why am I talking? What is it adding to the moment? Should I be talking right now or not? Wait. And it gives that openness for someone else to talk. As Barbara also said earlier, we abhor a vacuum. If you are quiet, the other person will talk because nobody wants to sit here in silence. It's the worst. We all know it. So part of your job is to go, okay, can I hold the silence a little bit longer than I want to give someone the opportunity to share something else, to open up a little bit more. The other thing in terms of when we start to think about the other person, we've talked about a few questions of how can I start to think about where they're coming from? And I know that we talked about it, this whole premise was impacting your audience, and we've done a lot around how we show up, how we perceive them showing up. And I want to step a little bit more into thinking now about, and what are we going to do about it? So the first thing I love to offer is this idea of, okay, when I'm trying to impact someone, when I'm trying to influence them, I want it to be a win for both parties. It's really hard to convince someone of something if it's only in my self-interest, right? So the first thing, so these are another set of kind of three places that I go to. So my first thought is, what do they want? So what is the person I'm talking to? What do they want? If they could have the best thing right now, again, going to your problem person, going to another interaction, what is it that they want? What do they really care about? What do they want to get or keep? And then on the other side of that, what are they afraid of? What are they trying to avoid or protect themselves from? So most people are motivated by either desire or fear, right? So what do they want? What are they trying to get away from? And if I can get a little bit of information around what this person's motivation is, are they someone who's more motivated by fear? Are they someone who's more motivated by passion? Can I think about that and help get to a place of something that they actually need? People often want things that aren't good for them. People are often afraid of things that aren't actually relevant. But there's something in that information that gives us a key if we're coming, again, what is it that I need from this person? What is it that I need from this interaction? Can this align with answering one of their wants or helping them with one of their fears? So I offer that framework to you. What do they want? What are they afraid of? And then can I answer what that need would be from those places? And I go through anytime I'm coming up for a difficult conversation, I have to talk to someone about something I know that's going to make them uncomfortable. It's going to make me uncomfortable. Instead of framing it, I'm like, oh God, I have to give this horrible feedback, or oh God, I have to have this interaction that I really don't like. I take a big step back. Why are they even on this call with me? What is in it for them? What do they care about? What do they want or what are they afraid of? Oh, great. I have a client who I work with who I've done a program for them 6 times, and every time they want to revisit it and think about it again. And I'm like, why? What do they want? What are they afraid of? Oh, they're afraid that it's going to go poorly and they've put their name out there. It's their name on the line. They just need it to go really, really well. How can I, in that interaction, give them the confidence that they need, which is what they actually need, is that little piece of confidence that this is going to go smoothly? I still despise those conversations and I wish we didn't have to have them every single time, but I know where they're coming from. I can come in with that little bit more empathy and I can make sure that that agenda goes smoothly and that I'm not just sitting there pulling my hair out, right? So I want you to think about an interaction you have coming up. What's in it for them? You have a thing that you need, and what's in it for them? And then when we get on that conversation, we step into there are two key ways that we think of influencing. There's this binary that we've all agreed. This idea of pushing or pulling. Has everyone come across this before? Most people are nodding. I see some skeptical looks, which is great. So when we push something, it's, I know what needs to happen. I've got my agenda. We're going to do this thing. When we're pulling something, it's, okay, I know that I need something from this person, but what is it that they need? How can I coax it out of them too? So that, am I driving or are they driving? And we've got a quick poll for you guys to do on this push or pull, POLL, on PUSH and PULL, the push pull poll, where I've just got 10 questions. We're going to go through them pretty quick. And I want you to just read the question and say, is that me pushing my agenda or is that me trying to get the other person's input, their agenda? A lot of these are pretty straightforward. You should get them. Again, don't think about it too hard. Go, is this push? Is this pull? And at the end, we're going to look at kind of what our results are. So, Larry, I believe you're in charge of my questions.
So I'm going to do each one individually,
Yeah,
right?
we're just gonna start with one, and we're just gonna zip right through them.
Okay, so here is question one.
Great. So pick your push or your pull, submit. And once we've got 10-ish submissions, we'll go ahead to question number 2. We don't need everybody's feedback. All right. Interesting. 70% push, 30% pull. So uh, that was a push. I have two pieces of feedback to discuss with you today. I am driving my agenda. I'm not asking you for the feedback yet. This is me saying, this is what we're doing. I'm not saying, are you open to feedback? That would be a pull. The push is, I have two pieces of feedback. All right, let's do the next one. Maybe.
It's coming.
It's coming. Ah, this is slow tech. We gotta, we're
Yes,
doing experiments.
okay. Oh, back. I forgot. I haven't done- okay, here we go. Question 2.
Don't see it yet.
Oh, Barbara doesn't have it.
It's out there. Okay.
It's in the
Shared
world.
results.
Okay.
All right, 100% pull. That was an easy one. Nice work, guys. Let's just do a couple more, Larry. Question 3 is great. Excellent. And can we just do question 10, Larry? Excellent. All right, you guys got the hang of this. So when we think about pushes and pulls, my first question is, who here lives in the push space most of the time? Thank you,
Who would
Charlie.
admit it?
I love people who are honest with themselves. Who here lives in the pull space most of the time? Everybody else should have their hand up. If you don't have your hand up, you didn't understand the instructions. So know what your instinct is. Where do I live? Do I live in push? Do I live in pull? Now, my next question is one better than the other? Barbara, don't give it away. Is it better to push? Is it better to pull? Does anyone have a feeling on that?
This depends on the bad answer.
I think it's situational.
It is situational, right? When do we need to push?
I think if there's an urgency or an emergency, you don't have time to play around, just here it
Yeah,
is.
you don't want to pull with, hey, the building's on fire and I think we might want to leave, right? That's a bad time to pull. So emergency, urgency. Charlie, you had something? No, you're
Trying
just
to motivate someone.
trying to motivate someone. Oh, I like that. I'm gonna push you to further than you feel comfortable. I'm gonna give you that oomph. Jackie?
When you're setting clear expectations from someone, for someone.
Oh, I love that. Boundaries for yourself, boundaries for others.
Yeah.
That's a really good time for a push action. When else?
Yeah, so Mark Johnson was unfortunately not able to join here. He's with Predictive Index. And what we learned from Predictive Index is depending upon that person's natural motivations, it makes a difference how you approach them. So one person's like, they just want to tell me what I need to do. Another person, you kind of ease them into it. So I think it's also situational with the person, how they're going to impact, how can you best impact them?
Yeah. Again, knowing my audience, how am I connecting with them? Once I get to know them, I can say, oh, you're someone who just wants the directions and you'll go with it. Versus you're someone who needs to feel that your input was part of the story. So yeah, tailoring it. Lori?
Who has the expertise? So the more knowledgeable person might be the one who's the source of the direction. So if it's the other person, then it'd be pulling. If it's you, then it might be pushing. So that might have impact.
Yeah, I think that you can push with expertise. I think you can also pull from the place of expertise to help someone find their way. You can know the answer and you can help see if they can find their way there. So I would say that one can go either way. In an urgent situation, you definitely want to push your expertise. Like, let's not mess around with this. I know what's right. We got to do it.
So one of those situations, I'm a 100% extrovert, not even close. And so what I find that I do is I will have the conversation by myself, but I'll play both parts. And sometimes what I've discovered is what I thought was the problem was really the symptom, but it wasn't until I drilled down deep enough that I realized, oh, now I understand. They're not just being difficult, it's because they've had a past experience. They know something I don't know, whatever the circumstances. And I have found that that's helpful too, to know what I'm addressing better than what I first thought, which again goes
Do you
back
do
to
this
pausing.
in front of a mirror, Lori?
I actually do it in the shower.
Okay.
Because
Oh,
what else
man.
can you do?
The shower,
And I talk out
every
loud.
Showers are magical places for working through ideas. They are. Don't shower thoughts are a thing for a reason, you guys. It is one of the few places in the world where we haven't fully, where we're not plugged in, right? We haven't got those full waterproof phones where we can be doing emails in the shower. It hasn't gotten that bad. So that's one of the very few times in modern society where you are just letting your brain bounce around.
And if you can't
And
sing, thinking and talking is better.
maybe you just start singing it to yourself for practice, Lori. It could be a whole bit. We could make this a thing. I love that you're even extroverted in the shower too. You said you were 100% extroverted. You were not wrong.
Yep.
Um, so yes, and then that's also a pull example, right? When we need to know what's going on with someone, you're doing it with yourself, but you can do it with the other person. What are their motivations? What's driving them? What do they care about? When else do we pull?
So
The only drawback to the other person is they don't always know their part.
The nerve
Like,
is you have to do it with them sometimes.
yeah, and I'll come in with just the right words at the right moment, and then you get into the situation you can't remember. They don't do what they're supposed to do, so I'm not as articulate, and yeah, and I don't want to have it with them in the shower.
That's wise. That's an HR issue, which,
I
I
think
think,
in a business context, you need to pull hard when you're doing planning and you're
mm,
discussing and figuring out what to do. And in execution, it needs to be more push. Although even in both of those contexts, there'll be times you'll have to revert.
yeah, it's all the nuance, but I love kind of thinking, okay, this is a more pull place with a bits of push versus this is the more push place with bits of pull. I think that's a really helpful way of structuring it. Barbara, you had something?
I was going to just say that Glenn had something to say, but
Oh,
if you look at it, when you're in a business sense, if you are trying to develop someone, have someone grow, you want to ask questions, which would be more of a pull, because you want that person to develop critical thinking. You want them to think out what their next steps will be themselves rather than you telling them. So you would do that more in a development type of process, or when you want someone to learn how to initiate rather than just wait to be told.
yeah. Anyone else? I think time is key,
Mm.
right? We have to think about, do I have enough time? And that matters. If I'm trying to have a pull conversation in 2 minutes, it's not going to work, right? It's the inverse of that urgent element. So as we step back into real life, leaving our little bubbles, our little screens in this activity, I want you to think about what we've talked about so far today. In the last little less than 90 minutes, we've gone on a whole journey, starting with the stories we tell about ourselves, the stories we tell to ourselves about others, the stories we tell about others, the way that we think about, what is that person all about? And within those stories, it's what are we going to do about it? So, what are you going to share more about yourself next time you have a new interaction with someone or an interaction with someone you know well? What new glimmers of connection are you going to make possible for them? What are you going to do when you get information or send information, the stories that you're telling about others? How are you going to view people as an entire human and not just the person for this transaction? And then starting to make choices around, okay, in this moment, I know I need to push this person a little further, or I know I need to get their buy-in. I really need to pull from them to figure out what the best next step is, not just for them, but for us as a collective. So all of this is thinking about how do I really make an impact on someone else? And that's from living where I am, knowing where I'm starting from. Again, in the same way that someone may have had a bad day the night before, they may have had crazy things going on, they may have slept poorly. Did you? How does that change how you are going to engage with information and with the people in your world? Just building that awareness starts to impact how we walk around, engage with others, and make sure that we are the humans showing up for the other humans. So I encourage you to walk out of here with one tool, one idea that you can start to apply, or all of them. And if not, I would ask you to find something that does resonate for you when you're having difficult conversations, when you're thinking about how do I influence someone. If you didn't come from me, go out there and find it because we can always make these interactions better for everyone. And that's the goal. So Thank you so much. You guys were awesome. It was so much fun to chat with you all. And I really love everybody really diving in and participating in this fully. So it was great to meet you all. And Barbara, and thank you so much for inviting me to this. It was a delight.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you got to share your wisdom and thoughts with.
Beacon is a national community of senior-level business leaders committed to sharing, helping, and learning. To find out more, go to beaconforlife.org.